Good morning, folks. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Hi, Bob.
Let's see.
Morning, Bob.
We have everybody here.
Bob, I
One,
tried to
two.
send you the minutes, but your mailbox was full.
I'm getting that message too. I've got to see what's going on. I apologize. I don't know what the problem is today. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to fix that right now.
Yeah, that's all right. I can call it up here.
I hope Brian comes on. I am going to have a little problem at about 9:10, 9:15 for about 3 minutes. I have to run downstairs and help load a geriatric dog into the car for a visit to the vet. So we scheduled that yesterday. So
Not a
I hope.
problem.
Well, it is if we don't get Brian on board, because then we don't have a quorum.
Right.
So
Good.
so
Well, we can wait
Brian's
for you for
he's
3 or 4
connecting.
minutes while you get the
no,
dog.
there's Brian. There's Brian. Okay, excellent. Wendy, why don't you go ahead and call up the
Well, we
minutes
need to open up the meeting first, Bob.
Oh, amen. Okay. Let's see. The time is 9:02. And I'm going to do a roll call just to be safe about attendance. Okay. Me, Bob Dwyer, the chair, is present.
Mhm.
Everybody just call out. I'll just go around. Wendy,
Here.
Brian,
Here.
Jed,
I'm here.
and John.
Here.
Okay, and we note that Anne Marie is on board too. I note also that Bourne Community Television is broadcasting this live and recording it. So if anybody wants to join us, the web address is on the agenda, which is on the town calendar for anybody who wants to see it. Okay, with that, I'm gonna proceed. First item of business is to review the minutes from the November 14th meeting. And
See
Wendy
those
is
okay?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see them. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. You can sure.
Again, if I don't have that time to read enough quickly, I'm gonna just abstain from voting on these.
I did get some corrections and additions, which are incorporated into this version.
Yep, I see him.
The only thing, Wendy, is taking my name. It looks like I'm voting yes.
Yeah, I know.
My name is.
I keep remembering not to forgetting to do that. I'm sorry. I will take you off of my my
Cut and
form.
paste.
Right. There's another one down the next
Yeah,
paragraph.
the next one.
Yep, and probably when we adjourned also. Yep. Okay. A typo there. And typo there. Let me know when you're done with this page.
I am done.
I'm done.
Same here.
Next page.
The only other item, Wendy, subbullet I, Plymouth is said to be working to add Verizon for cable TV.
Okay. I would have thought that that means streaming, but
No, the contract only covers cable TV. Does not cover streaming.
okay.
Is anybody talking? Because I can't hear anybody.
No, everybody's
No.
reading.
Okay.
I'm all set. I've read through it. I
Anybody
read
else?
it previously.
Anybody else? Okay.
Here. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. Jed,
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and the chair, Bob. Aye. Okay, the motion is approved unanimously. Okay. With that, is there any new public correspondence?
Before we move on, I'd just like to note to Wendy that John York's joined and we should add him to the attendance list.
Oh, thank you very kindly.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, didn't see that. Good morning, John. Okay. Any further outside public correspondence that's come in? Anne Marie,
Yeah.
anything?
No.
Okay. Okay, we will go through the agenda starting with old and ongoing business.
Bob,
yeah.
I have two comments. I don't know whether we need to put this on the agenda for next time or not. I did kind of an informal survey of the Wi-Fi coverage at the library. And I have some information, but I don't know if this is the appropriate time or
We have to put that on an
All right, well, we'll put it on the
separate
agenda, but I did do a survey and I have some information which might be helpful to whoever it is that is hoping to expand Wi-Fi there, as we got the DEI grant to do that.
Okay. Jed, would you speak so kind as to put that in the draft agenda for the next one? Just put digital equity topics. I think
Correct.
that's easy enough to cover everything.
Great.
Again, there's some other information that's come in on that too. Okay, thank you, John. The bead challenge. Is anyone aware of anything new that's come in on that at all?
There was a
Dave.
meeting yesterday, but I couldn't go. So did anybody else go to that?
I didn't either. I was going to watch the replay, but it's for deployment, so it's more for the ISPs, so to speak. They've added a few new infographics on the website. It looks like they've submitted to NTIA their list. So that makes sense given the draft list we saw. They were getting close to send it off to NTIA at about the same time. So yeah, still waiting on the
Okay.
final one. And so but nothing really to do on that until we have the final one and our ISPs start contacting us asking for support letters as part of the deployment.
Do you
Okay.
remember what the drop dead date is on that, Brian? I don't recall. I thought it was sometime this month.
So so it's a little weird. So like they have to have their final everything June of next year, but it's like kind of like several different things running at the same time in order to get there. They put out an RFP for contractors to be helping them finish the final NTIA plan. The location list has already gone off to NTIA, so they're waiting to get that approved. So once you have the location list approved, we're gonna have a better idea what's going on. So my guess is, once they release that, then the there'll be a lot of webinars for providers, like every week, basically at that point. It should be
But
soon.
essentially, that's any prospective bidder will be going eligible to go to those webinars.
But yeah, the list is roughly, you can, if you study it long enough, you can get a pretty good guess where the places are going to be. But everyone's still waiting for the final.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move forward to item B, Gap Network 2. Has anybody heard anything at all about that?
Also put in I got asked by another town to get info on, and I forwarded a records request. So still haven't got anything back from MBI on round 2.
And once again, I think Colin, I believe I saw some email traffic with you, Brian, that Colin had clarified that the companies were allowed to use the endorsement letters that were produced by the towns for Gap Network 1, also for Gap Network 2.
Yeah, they added that to the official documents. There's a line in one of the published documents as a part of question and answer. So that's been codified into stone that's allowed.
Okay, so we will wait to see. The next item is the next round of DOR fiber funding. That is, if I'm not mistaken, that comes out, an RFP comes out in the spring, and the money is awarded around June. Is that right, Brian? Based on the award we got 2 years ago.
That was like a March. Hold on, let me I'll check real quick.
Remind me what DOR is.
Department of Revenue. That's the state of Massachusetts, a
Oh.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts that distributes fiber funding to municipalities for connecting municipal facilities.
Thank you.
And again, the application that a few of us submitted under the aegis of the Canal Area Chamber of Commerce Fiber Committee got $250,000, and that application was essentially to run a connection up to from the wire house on Depot Road up to I think we had it going to Barlow's Landing. Very similar to what Wellfleet has gotten.
I found the dates. So it says the access to the website where it will be applied. Since if you might recall, there was a link sent to the town manager. They said the link got sent out August 2024 to all town managers. I think that will have what the application form looks like. Might be worth getting a copy of that from Marlene so that we can free draft it. Have the text ready for the select board and or the town manager to work with in advance of the actual submitting window opening in March 10th and closing April 10th.
Okay. So we need to draft that probably at the next meeting, draft something and make a recommendation to the select board that they consider applying for that. And exactly, we need to say exactly what we want to connect, and hopefully by then, by the time the select board actually discusses that, we will know whether or not under either the BEAD program or Gap Networks 2, some of the areas that we want to connect actually get prioritized there.
Given the timing, I'll put a new request into MBI being like to specify, given the timing of this, we need to know either your almost final list, even if it's not final, and we need a little bit of a hint on gaps so we can start to plan this. So I'll try to phrase that correctly, even though, maybe they're not ready to give us finals, but they can give us a sneak peek.
Just say, again, there is the possibility that the select board will apply to DOR to fill in any areas that are not on their list, for municipal facilities. Okay. The next item on the agenda is liaison with the Cape Cod Technology Council. I attended a meeting before Thanksgiving, and it was not particularly momentous. I'm trying to recall exactly what they discussed. There was a big presentation from Mark Lanigan regarding a bill that's going been submitted to Congress, essentially to regulate AI, to put some guardrails around AI, so to prevent abuses of AI. That is a little out of our wheelhouse, so I don't think I didn't pay very close attention. If anybody wants information on that, I do have the reference to the bill in the Senate. It's fairly complex, and most of the meeting was spent discussing that. Anybody have any questions at all about that? Does anybody think this committee should have anything to say about that?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, that sort of ratifies my thoughts on it too. The next is the Mass Broadband Coalition. Just to let you know that Bob Espindola is trying to rotate out as kind of the ad hoc chair of that committee. So they're looking for a chair who doesn't necessarily have to be a representative of a town, a coordinator more than anything else. The major issues that they were discussing is just what we've discussed. Has anybody heard anything on BEAD Challenge or Gap Networks 2? And there was general frustration. The town of Westport put in a big effort. The city of New Bedford put in a big effort on the BEAD Challenge, and they got almost all of their challenges rejected, both for broadband served locations, for residences, as well as community anchor institutions. John York, if any of the lingo here, there's a lot of alphabet soup. If you need any description of this, we'll be glad to stop and take a breath and give you a 2-minute summary of what these laws are, or what these funding opportunities are. So
I'm good for now. If I need anything, I might ask, but I'm just listening in. I wanted to hear what the latest that was on the BEAD Challenge, so I guess it's not much. And but I'm just enjoying listening to your meeting. Thanks.
I'm glad we're entertaining. Again, John, you came in late. I'm gonna get a knock on the door from my wife to tell me I've got to go downstairs and load a geriatric dog into a car for a very quickly scheduled vet visit. Nothing major, but it has to be right now. Okay. The next thing is the discussion of the regional approach to broadband. And I think this is where perhaps the discussion of the article in the Falmouth Enterprise and the same article in the Bourne Enterprise extolling how much Comcast was doing for both DEI, digital equity, as well as going forward with their improvements of service. Again, in the Bourne Enterprise, talking about their improvements of service in Falmouth. And I note that there is no byline on the article. Otherwise, I would have approached the reporter to find out where this came from.
Well, Bob, it's very, very likely a press release from Comcast that they reprinted in the paper. I mean,
I expect so.
Yep. I'm surprised it didn't engender a letter from somebody to the enterprise asking them. I've received a couple of comments. Gee, does that mean that since it's in the enterprise in Bourne, does that mean that Comcast has the same intentions for Bourne? And I said, we've received no such information.
No.
I don't know.
How would the paper get a letter on that, in the same issue?
Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be in,
Well, that was about 3 weeks ago or so. I know
Right.
I've seen a letter in the Falmouth paper, nothing in Bourne. But it really, we don't, Comcast has told us nothing, right? So it could very well be that this is going to happen in Bourne eventually. Once Verizon gets enough footprint and they feel that there's a competitive pressure, it's impossible to know for sure.
Yeah. we'll know when they tell us,
Correct.
when they try to compete, when FiOS starts to expand further, which they are doing. That's the point I think that they'll try to come in and the competitive marketplace. God bless capitalism. What can I say? Let's let these guys fight each other and lower their prices. Okay. There have been no other discussions about a regional approach. The Broadband Coalition said, gee, it'd be nice if we could do something and submit like a Bristol County application, because most of their members seem to be from Bristol County. And that's as far as it has gone. We have not heard anything from the Tech Council or anything else about leading a regional approach, or from Open Cape. Has anyone else heard anything about anything approaching regionality?
No, but I got and I'm looking for it now and can't find it. I got an email from Open Cape asking for donations.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's the closest we're going to get, I think, to a regional approach is the network that Open Cape is building. But in terms of household level internet access, I don't see it happening at the county level.
Mm-hmm. Recall again that Verizon, at least in terms of its representations to Falmouth, and including the folks who sat from Falmouth on the Technology Council meetings, was that they intended to serve the whole Cape. With regard to Falmouth, their intentions were to serve all of the underserved and unserved locations, and then by 2026, and then expand to the entire town. I have heard from people in the Monument Beach Association that a number of them have started connecting, and again, this is all third-hand information from a customer talking to an installer, so that's got very little gravitas in my word. But one customer was told that Verizon is extending down as far as Bennett's Neck, so they're going to have connections down as far as Bennett's Neck.
Right. I think that's the edge of 759. I don't know. Anne Marie, you might know better. How far does 759 go?
That's probably just about right before it hits the, what is it, 563?
563.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
So that
right
makes
around
sense,
there.
right? Because the intelligence I have from Verizon associated people is that they'll use the exchange boundaries to run their FiOS network, even though technically they don't have to. That seems to be what they're doing. So the 563 will get served, 563, 564 gets serviced when Depot Road gets fired up and they decide to pull fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Along those lines, I saw them burying fiber on 28A this week.
Yes.
Really?
So, yeah, so they were
Where?
preparing to do something out there.
Was it Verizon?
Well, it looked like 288 strand fiber, and it was a one of those construction companies that works
Yeah.
the and I think that's what Verizon does, right? They outsource their construction. I know Comcast does. So
Where were they putting this, Jed?
So it was between the Dunkin' Donuts and Dean's.
Yeah, I saw that truck
Yeah,
also. Yeah, there was a truck out there. There was, because I got stuck in the traffic jam there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Right, and there was a
yesterday,
big
there were
yellow
these two big
construction truck.
spools on the side of the road, and they looked like 288 strand fiber to me. So, and it's a neighborhood area where they have underground utilities. So my guess is they were just prepping it. I don't think that they're going to offer service anytime soon. I think they just happen to have a contractor doing work, and it's all going to. I looked up on the poles. I don't see it on the poles, and it's going to have to come from Depot Road to that area. So, just an aside.
Okay.
I don't think it's anything imminent.
Okay, just with regard to the co-location on top of the telephone exchanges, this is experience from a family member in another state with FiOS. She was required when FiOS came into the area, if she wanted FiOS for broadband, she was required to eliminate her copper telephone
Yeah.
line. Okay,
Yep.
so clearly.
Really?
Yes. So clearly, that the idea was that they were that whole exchange right now in where she lived in Maryland is now mostly served by FiOS, and they've even for people who grabbed kicking and screaming says no, I don't want internet or anything. They gave them FiOS for phone only and
Correct.
took the copper out.
There's an industry move afoot to pull all the copper out. I know AT&T has announced just last week that they're pretty much eliminating DSL and all their copper. There was something about copper, but John, you might know this better than me about copper deterioration, I think.
But
It
it
was
had to do with the
causing problems.
it had to do with the insulation, as I recall.
Yeah,
Tell me about it. It breaks down after a number of years, and there was a lot of environmental concerns about it. So they're trying to get ahead of it, so to say, before the
correct.
lawsuits start.
Yeah. So you're going to see, that's what you're going to see, I think, according to what I've read in the industry, is that as soon as fiber is available, they'll pull the copper out.
That's, by the way, I have the previous owner of this house ran a business from here on Kenwood Road, and he had 4 copper telephone lines coming in. Okay, and I only needed one, and I talked to Verizon, and they said, please leave them up as long as they can stay up, because you may have failure on the one you're using, and we'll switch over to one of the other ones. And I'm down to one right now, and all I have is 60 hertz hum on the phone. And Verizon
Totally.
says we'll do the best we can, but we need to rebuild the copper in there. That's what they told me on the phone, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Mhm.
That
And
is just as someone who dealt with this for years in my job. That is their common fix. Is basically they'll run like 100 pairs to a specific building, and if one goes out, they don't bother fixing it because that's very expensive. What they do is just jump to another open
You
pair.
over. Yep.
yeah,
All right. So Bob, what do you want to do with this agenda item? I don't know. Do we need to continue talking about this going forward? Anything
just
related
leave
to
it there. I would leave it there in case something does come up.
it?
In
Okay.
case there's some activity that comes up. There might be some approach that, for instance, if what is it, New England Broadband, if
All right. Fair enough. Yep.
yeah, they may say, okay, we're going to propose a regional system as opposed to a town by town system. Okay. In terms of liaison with other towns,
Yeah. I can kind of give you a rundown of what I've run into. So the only other Cape town that's doing anything at the municipal level with internet is Truro. As I mentioned before, they're still trying to feel their way around how to organize. They have big issues with cell coverage and just cable TV. So they're reorganizing their internet and cable committee. They're still debating it. No, nothing new since the last time we talked, except that they've had a couple meetings to debate it. And Falmouth, there's a fair amount going on. So the net in Falmouth is they don't know what they're going to do. So they had a meeting, or they're having a meeting next week with the EDIC, right? That's that quasi-governmental environment, or is it Economic Development Council in town? They're the ones that funded the initial survey that Falmouth Net did, the feasibility study. So they paid
they
for
all
that, and I think they might have spun out Falmouth Net. That's kind of how they've been involved. So the MLP is going to meet with them, and then they have a meeting a couple days later to figure out where they're going. The town, as I said, has come forward and said they have no interest in capital or expense funding. So they're on their own. I sense that they feel the only viable way forward is New England Broadband, because New England Broadband is offering to fund everything. Meanwhile, New England Broadband has not come forward with anything at all since the original, remember the original Boundless presentation at Cape Cod Technology Council almost a year ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has come forward from that group since then. So,
Mm.
bit of skepticism. Now, they're also doing their digital equity planning meeting this week in Falmouth. All right, so the other thing, we had brought up Plymouth and Wareham last time. I kind of touched on that, so I went back and looked a little further. Plymouth has had FiOS cable TV since 2008. And when I had mentioned that they were talking to Verizon, that was a renewal that they finished in 2023. And they have a cable TV advisory committee. They don't touch on internet, and they're dormant at the moment. Then Wareham has had FiOS cable TV since 2007. They just renewed their Verizon contract last year, and their Comcast cable TV contract is up in 2025. So they're meeting right now and working on their Comcast contract. They have nothing going on in internet.
Okay. But Comcast and Verizon both offer internet over their respective coax and fiber systems, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's very competitive in those towns. I mean, it's very similar to what we heard about in Taunton, because Taunton's had both for 15, 18 years. So basically towns that have both have always been very competitive. Of course, in our town, the Comcast has come down to $35 a month. So, I mean, I think they're already starting to feel the squeeze from Verizon.
Now, once again, Comcast has come down to $35 a month. Where?
In Bourne.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's been that way for 18 months or a year anyway. That's internet only. It's what is it? It's 200 down and 25 up.
Okay.
And that started as soon as they got critical mass in Buzzards Bay. They started to offer that, and that was kind of on a if you called up and complained basis. And then when they came over the bridge, they came over the bridge. Two things happened. They came over the bridge, and right, the FCC changed the rules. Right, you had to be 100 by 20. Right. So when that happened, they came out with a package that says 120, and they offered for $35.
Right. It's 20. It's not 25 because I have a relatively high-end service from them, but I don't quite get 25. I do get somewhere around 500 down, between 500 and 600, depending on the day of the weekend.
That's funny. So mine is 25 up. I get 200. I have the 100 by 20 service, right? And I get 200 down and 25 up. But the point, yes. So as soon as that broadband definition changed, then Comcast put it up as an official package, $35 if you're 100 by 20. It's internet only, obviously, yeah. So, I mean, to me, it's, Verizon's already done its job for our town.
Yep.
Right.
So you're telling me it's worth it for me to ditch T-Mobile and go back to Comcast?
I don't know. I'm just well, I don't know what your reliability is going to be like where you are. So I don't want to go too far into a rabbit hole, but Brian sent me how many thousands of speed tests, right? That I went and parsed, and there were over 5,000 failures between Kingman's and where you guys live on Kenwood Road, that stretch of Shore Road. There were over 5,000 challenges that Comcast could not overturn. So that stretch of Bourne is tough. Based on the data.
Amen.
Yeah, you guys know better than me, but I saw the data, it backs it up.
I mean, you might, Wendy, if it's that inexpensive, you might go for both services. You could do what Jed does and have
That's what I do.
Failover is pretty cool. One goes down. It's hard for both to go down at the same exact time.
Yeah, I have $35 Comcast and I have DSL.
Well, they'd have to come and run an actual wire here, because I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but our neighbor with the big toys ripped all the wires out of our house a couple of years ago, and that was one of them. Yeah.
You're marked as served. You're marked as served, so they would have to come out and run it at their expense. That's not your problem. That's not your problem.
Thank you very kindly. I will look into that.
Right. So yeah, that's basically what I've seen going around. Not a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Moving forward, we're going into new business, and again, there's been an application submitted to the planning board and then forwarded to the Cape Cod Commission for a cell tower at that's the odd side,
317.
317 Barlow's Landing Road. The applicant is a company called Vertex. The owner of the property is a trust, and they're clearly renting it out to Vertex. A while ago, as we said in the last meeting, a while ago, we could see essentially from the old train platform right at Barlow's Landing Road along the I guess it's along the railroad right of way because the town was not involved. There's buried conduit and a buried yellow line. It looks like a gas line. That's the usual thing that goes in there for gas service. So my inference at that time was somebody was going to put in. It was a big gas line too. Somebody was going to put in a generator, and the conduit was going to be for fiber. And clearly, this application lends credence to that. I have not seen the application for the details. I'll let you know, I did go out with one of the abutters and paced off the whole property, and I met a technician who was putting up a balloon, and that went up on the 20th, I guess, the 20th of November. It was a balloon up 120 feet, and he walked around and started just pointing out how close it was to his house, which was perhaps 500 feet. It is 100 feet from the boundaries of that particular lot, and it is 120 feet tall. And he started asking about the negative effects of 5G radiation on public health.
It's none.
And
I've been involved with this for
None.
30 plus years.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, I did say that. I said my understanding as an individual, and I said I'm just speaking as a representative. And again, I was a representative of the abutter across the street at 314. I said I would make recommendations to the any renters we have at that facility that the evidence indicates from many studies that there are no effects. And this fellow said, well, I've seen on the internet that, and I didn't go there.
Yeah.
I said, there are going to be public hearings on this at the Cape Cod Commission. So, you can state your case there. In terms of visibility, it's visible from a couple of locations on Shore Road. It was visible along, from any of the commercial properties around on Barlow's Landing. It was, frankly, from my point of view, as the representative for the Pecasset community building across the street, it was less intrusive than the light posts around the Little League Park. So, in terms of its intrusion on the neighborhood, very little. How much service they're going to provide from there is unclear. It didn't seem like it provided extra line of sight to very many properties at all.
It might, because there's kind of a hole down there, but I mean that whole area down there, and even where I live, which is a little bit further inland, there's there's a couple of spotty places where I can like drive down the block and lose it for like 50 feet, and then it comes back again.
So John, you're talking about cell service.
Cell service, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it probably would help when they.
Yeah, my suspicion is that this is largely to fill in a gap on cell service. I don't think fixed wireless is really the main reason for them to putting this tower in. My guess.
They publicly said that they basically are open to anybody that wants to lease for cell service.
Yeah. So they're right. So they're going to lease space to T-Mobile and Verizon and everyone else who wants antenna space. Exactly.
True.
But there's room for both to be on there,
Oh,
any
totally.
size
Yeah, they
tower,
probably
'cause
have room for 5. I mean, they'll, the more the merrier as far as they're concerned.
By the way, just to I did drive around and try to look for the balloon from, for instance, Barlow's Landing Pier, which is another chronically underserved cell area, at least. And I drove out to Wings Neck, looked with binoculars, and I couldn't see it at all. So it's hidden at that point. It's hidden by terrain or behind trees. So
Yeah.
line
Cell
of line
service,
of
yeah, you're not going to need line of sight to make a phone call.
right.
I think you
But
really need an RF meter.
When did this go up, and did they run like any test transmissions or anything out of there?
this was a big red balloon on a string.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
from the
Because
exact.
Right.
Go
the
ahead.
reason I
Fancy
ask
who
is that
can see it.
about 2 weeks ago, for 2 days, I had 300 down, and I thought, what happened? And it's gone now. I'm back to like 5, 6, 8 down. But I was just wondering if there was something hopeful there. Never mind.
there's the reason the FCC defined it as unreliable, but FWA. But it does serve a
It is
place
that.
that when it works, it can be lovely.
Yes.
It's just unreliable.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? A question for the committee. Do you see any reason at all that this committee should be involved in any of the hearings or make any kind of recommendations to the select board on this?
Well,
Do we recommend they go higher?
yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's gone past the planning board at this point, right? And it's been
Right.
referred to the Cape Cod Commission. We
Right.
haven't seen what they've filed with the Cape Cod Commission yet. So I think it's worth waiting to see the project files go up. Maybe, hopefully by the next meeting, although it could be weeks, if not months, before they finally submit anything.
Mhm.
But I think it's worth reviewing again when the project files are loaded, just to see if there's any reason for us to be involved.
Exactly.
I think-
Go ahead, Brian.
I think I have the name of who's working on it at the commission. I emailed someone over there, and I didn't CC you, Bob, because you said in case of a conflict. So I CC'd Jed on that.
Okay. Once again, if this committee needs to take a position, I am at least on the committee for the an abutter who owns the building across the street. So I'll have to I'll continue to discuss, but I will certainly abstain from any votes.
And
Okay.
based on the pace of things I've seen go on at the Cape Cod Commission, I think it's going to be at least February, March before they have the first meeting, and they typically have at least 2.
Mm-hmm. I will note that Verizon was I presume it was Verizon was working to put fiber on the poles coming down Barlow's Landing Road from MacArthur Boulevard, and they don't seem to go anywhere. So my thoughts are they were getting ready to provide a connection to this cell tower.
Yeah.
They might be. I mean, historically, Verizon Wireless and Verizon Fios have been completely separate networks. They were operated as 2 separate companies for many years. Now, very recently, I would say maybe a year or 2 ago, they started a new program called Verizon One, which is with that new, what is it, Gen 2 fiber? I forget the acronym for it, but
NG-PON 2.
yeah, the NG-PON, where they would use some of the strands for Fios backhaul and some of the strands for for the cell towers. And I know they've rolled it out. You've seen some press releases from Verizon in the last 8 to 12 months where they've rolled it out. It's been almost exclusively urban rollouts. The other thing to note is that I think most of the backhaul on the Cape is owned by Crown Castle, I think, for Verizon.
Open Cape actually owns it, and they have a marketing agreement with Crown
That's right. Yeah,
Castle.
it's a
and Crown
fiber
Castle
swap with Crown
resells it to
Castle.
everybody.
Yeah. So it's Open Cape physical fibers, Crown Castle service. So Verizon would have to unwind themselves from a lot of stuff. That's not to say they're not doing it here, but I'm just pointing out there's a lot going on. It's not just simply tack it on to FiOS. There's more to the story.
Hmm.
They
Okay.
slowly are replacing some of their leased infrastructure percentage. So that's one of the things they report out to investors
Yep.
because it's like I can't quote me on the figure, but like every year they go up another percent or two of like what they actually own instead of lease. So
Yep.
it is an overall investment plan of them. So like strategically where it makes sense, they're swapping out lease strands for stuff that they laid themselves.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Jed, I think this item ought to be moved up to old business for the next agenda, and we will discuss it when we have more information. Just to let you know, again, as an abutter, I note that we haven't been served with a notice of any hearings or anything. So I will hear about any hearings directly as an abutter, I presume. And I'm going to essentially defer to the Cape Cod Commission from this resident who is hot about 5G waves and impeding his affecting his health.
Totally. Yeah. He can refer
Sigh.
to the Cape Cod Commission project website. It's listed there now. There's just no link yet for the materials.
Okay. Well, we'll let him go on his own. There may be he's been talking to other neighbors. There might be some kind of an ad hoc movement, Anne Marie, that goes directly to the select board about this at some point. So beware.
We
Be
have
aware.
yet to hear anything.
Right.
If it comes about, it's probably one of the most commonly asked questions. So there's a lot of other towns and a lot of other government entities that have addressed this. So we could easily reach out to them and get a copy of the standard materials to handle that if that ever becomes a problem.
Right. And I'm sure that's what the Cape Cod Commission is going to rely on when they get one comment on that.
Yeah, T-Mobile in Centerville or Craigville went through this a couple of years ago, but
Yep. Okay. So the next meeting is let's do the arithmetic here.
Next year.
I put it on the 9th because you said you weren't going to be back. I know I'm going to be out a bit.
Right. I think that's appropriate. It's a month away, but again, not much is going to get done by anybody over at least a couple of the weeks, ensuing weeks here. Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
And again, other than including digital equity back in its former place, just digital equity items or topics, and moving fiber service further up, I don't see any other needs for any other agendas and agenda items. Anyone have any other suggestions?
No, my only concern is that if we get any of this speed information before January 9th, we may want to try to quickly schedule a meeting at some point.
If we need to turn this around. I think after the first of the year, Anne Marie, what I'd like to put under new business is preparation of a short report to the select board.
Okay.
Does that sound? Ideally, I thought we were going to have some information on BEAD or GAP or something right now.
Right.
But I think you can do it. I'm sure you do. But we can formally tell them that we don't know anything on any of this.
We do have committee reports as a standard agenda item every week that we meet.
So that could
to give them a special notification.
I'll report out on next December. Yes, we're meeting December 10th.
Can
So
you ask Marlene?
Pardon me?
Can you ask Marlene to get the PDF, the application form for the Community Fiber Grant? Or dig up the link.
So the link was sent to her? Is that what you're saying?
Should be her.
Yes. Yeah.
In August.
Okay.
And
Kathleen either goes to the town manager or the chair of the select board. So one or the other got it.
the last time it did go to the town administrator, and Kathleen was able to put her fingers on it in a very short, in minutes,
Okay.
even though it had sat there for a month or two by the time we got around to looking at it.
Are you okay with the order of section 4 on the agenda, Bob?
I don't, this other than bead and gap, which are the
We lost your audio, Bob.
there is everything else I guess follows from that, so
Okay.
I don't think there's any particular order after that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. If everyone's okay, I'm going to send this to Maria this afternoon or maybe even sooner.
Very good.
Looks
Okay.
good.
All right.
Okay. With that, at 9:52, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Jed moves, John seconds. Okay, I'm going to go around. Jed,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Bob. Yes. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2025, unless
On the 9th?
on the 9th,
Bye.
Okay.
unless something blows up. Just in case something does blow up, I am out of the country until from next Tuesday until the 22nd, but I'm more or less reachable after that until the 9th. Okay, presuming I can figure out what's going on with my emails here. Okay.
All right. See you later.
Bye.